What's up, folks? It's Dr. Remy LeBeau, and I'm coming at you once again from the X-Lair to provide you my reaction to the latest episode of Twin Peaks. This was episode 12 of 18 of the third season. We only have 6 episodes to go. Yeah. This was a funny episode. I laughed quite a bit. There's a lot to laugh at, but definitely the most important thing is like the return of Audrey Horne. We knew it was coming, or I didn't know it was coming actually until maybe like 2 weeks ago, or like a week and a half ago. I watched a Twin Peaks panel from maybe a year ago, like right after David Lynch resolved his conflict with Showtime and the show was moving forward, the production of it was moving forward. Sherilyn Fenn and I forget her name, something Lee, that plays Laura Palmer. Anyway, they were on a panel, and Sherilyn Fenn said that she was going to be in it. So I realized that, okay, it's clear that she is going to be in it, but when? Like, we're at, you know, we're past the halfway mark of the entire series, and we haven't seen her. She wasn't a pivotal character in terms of like the Laura Palmer stuff in the original series, so I can see why like she would be sort of left on the sidelines a bit. And also it does kind of give you that extra kind of treat as you're taking that long stretch towards the end where like the story's really fleshing itself out. Well, all the various story threads are kind of fleshing themselves out in not very fleshy ways, but definitely there's flesh being added to each storyline. And which I'll talk about in a second, but therefore it's a nice sort of treat for the audience. Oh, finally Audrey Horne, there she is. Now the context in which she was presented is super hilarious, and before I get into the details of it, I just first want to say that my overall impression about this episode, as far as like what David Lynch was doing with this episode, it was all about playing with the audience's expectations for information, right? So in any sort of standard linear dramatic story, like, you know, there's all these plot points, and then us, the audience, like, we are just ready to get the information that the plot is implying we're going to be revealed throughout the process of telling the story. I think this episode was all about like just highlighting the that sort of anticipation and kind of playing with the satisfaction of it. And Audrey Horne played the role of the audience. But we saw a couple of sequences in this show that were all about information, and then we saw the final sequence which was all about information that we didn't care about, like almost like, oh, by the way, here's a window into a completely different show with a completely different set of characters, with a completely different set of storylines that are happening to them and the people around them. Very soap opera-esque type of storylines. But again, like the way the episode was structured and like the way the information was either revealed or not revealed was very much, I think, about just commenting on the importance of information in storytelling. I think that's what this episode was about. I think that's what he was trying to get at. I'm just gonna throw out things that I remember throughout the episode. Like, actually, even going back to like that first scene with Harry Dean Stanton, the one of the guys that lives in that trailer park that Shelley's daughter lives at with Banshee from X-Men First Class. Harry Dean Stanton, but his scene had nothing to do with any of the other storylines. His scene was just about him telling this guy that lives on the property that apparently is very poor, but is kind of like a handy, so he does a lot of work for people, like telling him like, oh, like, you don't have to sell your blood for food anymore, like, we'll pay you, or I'll help pay for the things that you do around here, so, you know, that'll give you some extra income so you don't have to sell your blood. Like, that's all that scene was about. It was about just highlighting like the good deed that Harry Dean Stanton was doing, because he saw that, you know, this guy needed help and like is somebody that is dependable and deserves a little bit of help, even from someone like Harry Dean Stanton, who seems to be down and out himself. Anyway, that scene information was given, but not really. I'm thinking now about the scene with Tim Roth and Jennifer Jason Leigh. Unless I missed something, the guy that they assassinated, we don't know anything about him. He may not be important at all. And it, once again, may just be another part of this episode of him like playing with the audience's need for pivotal information to move the story forward. Like, here's a scene about an assassination that has nothing to do with anything, but here's some characters that you really want to find out about, so I'm going to draw your attention in, but it's going to get you nowhere. Okay, so I know I'm going to miss some stuff here. Okay, so we did find out that kid Eric is, I think his name is Eric, that really bad kid that ran over that little boy and then beat up his grandparents or whatever. That's Audrey Horne's son. I think Ben Horne is the head, is the one that owns the lodge. That whole sequence is really interesting. The only information that was revealed there was the fact that the kid is as far as like pivotal information to kind of move what we the audience want from the show, the main stories forward. Like Audrey, we find out again, like I mentioned, he's the son of Audrey Horne. But beyond that, that scene also, I think his name is Ben. I'm sorry, I don't know all the names, but I try. I think Ben Horne, he had that whole kind of soliloquy about his love for this bicycle that he had as a kid and the fact that his father gave it to him. Now, that may or may not have been actually important information. I think he said at the beginning that the kid didn't have a father or something. The bad kid, Eric, I think his name is. And so at the end of his little soliloquy, he kind of did emphasize like that bike was given to me by my father. Like that bike was something that brought me joy and kept my attention and is a fond memory that probably made me well balanced. And this kid didn't have that, maybe is what he was saying, or maybe it just was completely arbitrary. But I think that's what he was saying there. Anyway. Of course, I'm saving the two big, most important nuggets here, and that is the stuff with Gordon, which is now I know the name of the head or of one of the heads of the FBI, like obviously David Lynch's character's name. Gordon Albert is the name of Miguel Farrar, and I forget the name of the woman. Okay. This was towards the beginning, so okay. So first we got that scene where like pivotal ass information was revealed, right? Like super pivotal information that people have been wanting to know about since probably the original show. Like, okay, the Blue Rose stuff, I think that was revealed in the second season, but I don't think it was talked about so explicitly that the FBI and the Air Force had in the 1970s. Given up on this. Actually, no, none of this. This is like super pivotal information that I think Twin Peaks fans have been waiting forever. Because there was also a mention of Chris something. I don't know what his actual character name is in Fire Walk With Me. But like that first agent in Fire Walk With Me, Fire Walk With Me being a prequel to the original show. At the very start, we get this whole sequence where there's an agent who disappears, and it's Chris something. He was a singer. He had that song, and I wanna fall in love. That was a horrible rendition, and it actually sounded nothing like it. But anyway, Chris, fuck, I can't remember his name. Anyway, he disappeared, and then Cooper obviously disappeared, and then there was mention of another agent that also disappeared, and Miguel Farrar, or maybe there wasn't another mention. Maybe it was just them two and Miguel Farrar. No, I think there was a mention of another one that also disappeared. Miguel Farrar being the only one. Them being part of the task force that sort of was left to kind of tie up loose ends with respect to like all the UFO stuff that I guess the FBI and the Air Force have been working on, that they gave up on once they realized that what they were looking into wasn't really a national security threat. But obviously, they still needed to tie up some loose ends, and that's what the task force was for. But most of the agents had disappeared, except for Miguel Farrar. and now they're like bringing this girl into it, the female agent. So that was like really pivotal information, and it was given to us right at the beginning of the show. So the progression of the information in the show is really interesting, because you got that, and then when we went back to them, we did see that text that was sent to Diane about Las Vegas and the fact that they haven't asked yet. And then we have the most important sequence as far as like the overall meaning of this episode and what I think David Lynch was trying to do with the episode, which is that sequence in the room where Miguel Farrar shows up. David Lynch, Gordon, is with this like French girl who it turns out, I think her mother's friend's daughter had disappeared. I don't know. It was more information that we needed, right? It was already kind of like, I'm giving you more information that you need that is not relevant at all to the actual story that I'm telling here. Again, more like kind of that misdirection and kind of like commenting on like what is pivotal information in a story, and like our need as an audience for that information, and like the authors sort of playing with that expectation. Is just a standard sort of approach to storytelling. I think this was all about kind of taking that apart, because that whole sequence, it was set up as okay, Miguel Farrar's there to tell Gordon some pivotal information. And then what happens? We get like a 5-minute sequence of this beautiful girl like just kind of like getting ready to leave the room after she was asked to please leave the room so they could have a private conversation. She like touches up her makeup. I mean, and David Lynch was just staring at her. I mean, in a very creepy way. Like, it was very self-indulgent, I think, but also very crafty as far as like what he was doing with the episode. I think this is my interpretation of the episode, and I think I'm right, by the way. But you know, everybody's free to have their own interpretation. And you may have more information than I have about certain aspects of it. But as far as like my overall interpretation of what he was going for, I think it was all about that. Like, we had that whole sequence, and then finally when the information was given, it was information we already knew. It was information we already fucking knew. That, you know, the guy somebody had sent a text to Diane, Las Vegas, has he asked about it, and she said no, not yet. Anyway, it was an interesting sequence, and it kind of, obviously, it started to sort of kind of put my mindset in like that weird sort of like, what is David Lynch doing mindset, right? Like that kind of like, I need to process information that I can't process because I'm not used to this, which is the fun of watching Twin Peaks and David Lynch's stuff. Anyway, and then finally we get that Audrey Horne sequence. Oh my God! Oh wait, no. There was that whole fucking sequence with Laura Palmer's mom, and we saw Laura Palmer's house, the exterior. It looked just like it did in Fire Walk with Me, and even the television show. I knew they weren't going to show the interior, but for a second I was like, are they going to show the interior of that whole house? Did they actually fucking create all those sets again? No, that's too much. They would have to like have a lot of story take place within it, and they didn't do it. They just showed her the front door. But like her whole sequence is interesting because it may or may not be important information. Is she crazy? Is there something to it, or is she just nuts and we're just like kind of seeing like her kind of pocket of the story and reflecting how crazy she must be as a result of everything that happened to her? But it could potentially be the case that she is herself possessed by something, because it was a sort of implied that there's like multiple personalities inside of her. You know, maybe something to do with Bob. You know, maybe one of these other fucking entities that possesses people. Anyway, there was also that one sequence. Anyway, so there wasn't anything clearly given to us, but we did get at that nice sort of moment with Laura Palmer's mom at the house, with Hawk coming to the house. I really liked that moment. It was very, very Twin Peaks. Like, it felt very fucking Twin Peaks. Again, kind of like to ground you after like the crazy weirdness that, you know, again, it's not is nowhere near conventional, as you probably know. So the effect of it is not going to be what you expect from any kind of television episode. This is not television, folks. This is not your generally standard scripted drama. If you are expecting that, then you are not going to get that, and you are not going to like the show. But if you are just willing to kind of just go with the experience and just not really be too critical of it, just kind of experience it and kind of try to see what David Lynch is doing, then you can have a really good time, like I do. I clapped at the end of this episode. Like, I just started clapping, as I've done oftentimes with these episodes. Anyway, so we got that sequence, and then we get the fucking Audrey Horne sequence. Again, it's all about that like, need for audience information. Oh, so David Lynch is like, oh, you want fucking information after this last sequence where, you know, everybody in their house was fucking like, what the fuck, what did Miguel say? Like, what did Albert say? What is he going to say? What is the information he has? Like, us fucking waiting. I'm sure people were like screaming at the fucking television screen. So then David Lynch comes back with the Audrey Horne thing. Oh, here's Audrey Horne. Here's what you were looking for. And now here's a lot of fucking information that you do not fucking care about, and is likely not important at all. Oh, well, there's this person, and I'm cheating with this person, and then she had her husband, man. I kept thinking he was like CGI'd or something. There was something very awkward about him. But I think he was exactly the opposite of what we would have expected Audrey to wind up with, right? Like, she was with fucking Billy Zane, like in the second season of Twin Peaks. Like, I mean, that guy was like a heart throb. He's like a very sexy man, right? So you would think that she would wind up with a man like that. But this man that she wound up with, this accountant guy, was like the complete opposite of that. And there was a lot of back and forth about the information. You thought that they were I thought at first that they were talking about her son and that she had been told about her son, but it had nothing to do with her son. It had to do with her lover, who was missing for 2 days, and then she wanted to go look for him. And I think there's a divorce going on, but we don't really know. And then the husband's saying, well, this other chick knows something, and like, and there was a lot of information being given that wasn't important, but it seemed important, right? Like, it was, again, David Lynch saying, oh, you want information? Well, here's a bunch of fucking information, and I'm going to present it to you as though it is fucking important. But in the end, not important, I'm sure. I'm sure a lot of that stuff is not important. But like, the way the sequence played out, it's like Audrey was us all of a sudden. Like, she was like wanting, when he made that phone call calling Tina or whatever, and it appeared that he was being given pivotal information. Like, she was like screaming, what is it? Like, she was us. Like, she was motioning like, I need to know what's going on. And like, he just stretched that shit as far as it could fucking go. And then finally she hangs up and she's like, well, what the fuck? Like, what happened? And then it just like, it's just this fucking still shot on the guy's face, and he does not say a goddamn fucking word. I fucking loved it. There was also a scene earlier with the brother of the lodge owner running through the forest again, getting to like a grassy field. Anyway, may or may not be important, probably not, but hey, I'm glad to see that. Anyway, that Audrey Horne sequence was hilarious. And then we go to the fucking the Bang Bang Bar, right? Okay, I think I called it the Bullet Bar last week. It's the Bang Bang Bar. It's the Twin Peaks bar where they usually finish the show and they have a performance. They don't often, well, sometimes they'll have some stuff going on, sometimes they won't. That's relevant to, well, seemingly relevant, at least to the world of Twin Peaks. But here we had like two characters talking about things that have nothing to do with anything that's happened in the show thus far. If I'm wrong, tell me otherwise. But it seems as though there's nothing connected to anything that's happened up until that point with those two characters, their conversation, the fact that this guy comes in and says somebody tried to run me off the road. It's kind of like, hey, by the way, if you turn over here in Twin Peaks, there's still shit going on in Twin Peaks like was going on in the old show. You don't know anything about it, but here's a lot of information because you want fucking information. Here's some more for fucking information. There's this person doing this guy, and then they're cheating on these people, and it's like, you want information? Here it is. It's like all in your face, like a bunch of random ass information about like some dramatic bullshit that doesn't mean shit because we don't care about it because it has nothing to do with the actual storylines that we're tracking. And then the episode ended, and that's when I started clapping because I realized what he was doing. I think this is my interpretation. You can have a different interpretation. You can hate the episode. You can hate David Lynch. Whatever. But this is how I interpreted the episode. You have to interpret it on a level beyond like what you see, because if you don't, then it seems like garbage. But David Lynch doesn't produce garbage, and everything he does is intentional. And so this was intentionally brilliant in a really odd and off way, which I would expect nothing less of from a Twin Peaks episode. Anyway, that is my reaction, interpretation, whatever, of this interesting episode. We have, again, 6 more to go. I think we're gonna get some fucking dope episodes. What am I saying? Every episode has been fucking dope. I love this shit. It's so good. It's so good. Again, I chose to watch this before Game of Thrones again, because it's so fucking good. Anyway, thanks for checking out my YouTube channel. Thanks for if you haven't already subscribed and you want to keep up with these reviews or other stuff that I put up. I do movie reviews. I'm gonna focus on some shows coming up in the fall season. If you want to keep up with stuff, you can subscribe. Just click the button down there, please. And as always, I'd like to remind you, if you haven't already, put an X in that box, because ain't nobody checking me. Take care. Bye-bye.